Okay, so I want to welcome everyone back to this week's edition of the Northern Nerdcast, where we do showcase the geeky, nerdy people, groups, and events that happen in and around the city of Edmonton. The Northern Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. Please feel free to head on over to Alberta Podcast Network for a list of amazing Alberta-made podcasts. We would also like to encourage everyone out there that if you enjoy this episode, to share it with your friends on social media. This way we are able to help grow the community here in Edmonton and keep everyone up to date with the latest news and information regarding the geeky, nerdy people, groups, and events that happen in and around the city. Also, if you or someone you know would like to be featured on our show, please feel free to email us at northernnerdnetwork.com. All right. Let's get on with the show. All right, so welcome back to another edition of the Nerdcast. My name is Dan Schessel, and today on the Nerdcast, we have none other than, again, Brandon Rhiness. I keep doing that. Say hello.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Well, of course. We always are glad to have you back here on the show. Yeah. This is like what, your third time back here?
I believe it's the third, yes.
Yeah, that's I think that's the newest record, or the biggest record we have for repeat guests. So, yeah. And also on today on the show we have Skylar. Is that how you say it? Radisson?
Radzian.
Skazian?
Oh, Radzian.
Radzian. Okay. All right. Awesome. And we also have Barb Briggs as well.
Hello.
And we're going to talk a little bit about you guys' project that you guys have coming up, or not coming up, I guess it's already out, Super Drycleaners, which is pretty fantastic. But that'll be a little bit later on in the show. But first off, we'd like to ask everyone, this is kind of a new segment for some people, but we like to ask people what they have on their geek shelf. Because we do believe that everybody has that shelf in their house somewhere, that you take the things that you really love and care about, and you put them on that shelf to display to people. And we kind of like, everything has a little bit of a story to it, right? So we just want to ask you guys what your story of something that you have on your shelf is. So we're going to start with Brandon on this. Brandon, what's something on your geek shelf?
You know, I was looking at it, and it's really hard to pick one thing because can't see it here, but in the hallway in my apartment, there's like a whole hallway of many shelves, and it's basically been filled with geek-related stuff. Obviously, a lot of comic books, DVDs, action figures, stuff. But it's slowly gotten to the point where about half of it is kind of things I've made myself, like comic books and graphic novels and that kind of thing. So it seems kind of unfair to really pick one thing, because obviously I want to pick my own stuff to promote. And it was kind of like a bit of a moral dilemma I had, whether or not I should just, shamelessly promote one of my things. But I've been on the show before to do that. So so maybe I'll just pass it on to Skylar.
Sure.
I guess my geek shelf would be video games, a lot of like Xbox and a lot of computer games that I have. A lot of them are on Steam now, but like I guess my collection in my Steam that I'm kind of waiting for my computer to be able to.
It's like a computer shelf.
Yeah. I'm a big video game nerd, so.
That's awesome. Same here. How about you, Barb? You got something special?
Yeah, I mean, I have a 15-year-old son who likes to collect the pop figures, and he's got multiple shelves of these things. And so every time I'm like going and looking at these, I started collecting all these figures of female characters, my favorite female characters, so and other characters that I like. So I've got now a collection of, like, of course, Wonder Woman, old Wonder Woman, new one, classic Wonder Woman, and the new one, Red Sonja, Maleficent, and then I've got my 3 dragons from Game of Thrones. And then the most recent one that I just, my son was like, why are you buying this? And I'm like, because I have to. And it's the character Uzma from the Dark Crystal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I just saw it, and I've never seen it as a figure before, so I'm like, I must have this. So that's my kind of. And then my favorite thing is it's a Sesame Street thing, but it's Grover, a stuffed Grover that I've had since I was like 5 years old. He's about this big, and he just sits on my shelf in my office, and sends me love. So
That's amazing. That's that sort of reminds me of I've been watching the Orville, and he's got like this little stuffed Kermit the Frog that he has on his desk that he's got on that show. Have you guys watched the Orville or Star Trek, the new series at all?
I haven't had a chance to see it yet. Nope.
No. Well, I have to give my recommendation. If you guys ever do get a chance to check out Orville, it's a fantastic show. I don't know, like, because I don't know where you guys sit on the scale of nerdy stuff, but like Star Trek has been out there for quite a long time, and I used to be a big fan of Star Trek. I love Star Trek. I'm a Star Wars kind of guy mostly, but anyways, I've been watching the new Star Trek. I just cannot seem to get into it as much as I like the Orville.
Yeah, I watched about 5-10 minutes of like the very first one, and it looked like it was well done. It just didn't feel Star Trek-y to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I just could not get into it.
Yeah. I did manage to see this weekend. I got to go to, just a little while ago, the new Blade Runner movie, 2049. Fantastic. A lot of people like I'm surprised that it's not doing so well. Well, I'm not really surprised. It didn't do so well the first time either. But this one is so well done. And I guess if you haven't watched the first movie, it's kind of hard to get into. But it's such a beautiful movie. It's exactly what I wanted Blade Runner to be, which is amazing. So I can't give more of a recommendation on if you ever get a chance to go see it, go and see Blade Runner. It's fantastic. Have you guys seen the original?
Yeah, I saw the original a while ago, and then I just saw the new one on opening day. So
yeah,
I'm one of those nerds that goes on opening day to every movie. I thought it was fantastic. It was beautiful, and it stayed true to the original, like the pacing, and which.
Yes.
See how some people could find it's slower paced. It's got very little dialogue, and it's action, but it doesn't have the action that a lot of people have gotten used to with, like, the Avengers and all those kinds of shows where it's like boom, boom, boom. But so it was just nice to see that was the story is driving it, and the cinematography and the color palette was just beautiful.
I have to agree. There was moments in the movie where it just gives you these big giant pauses for the audience to kind of sit and think about what has just happened. And it was just a fantastic way of doing it. And I was so worried going into the movie because I was so scared that they were going to turn it into an action movie, because it's one of those things where it could easily have been done. But they didn't. They did not do that, which was awesome and it made me so happy. Because I have to admit, like, Blade Runner has been by far my favorite movie of all time, and so I'm so glad that they treated it well for the second movie. So yeah, and I did also see it on opening night as well, and then. I think a couple of days later, I ended up buying some tickets for Star Wars. So I'm like, I'm on this app a lot lately. Yeah. So yeah. Now I'm excited because now we got Star Wars coming up. So I have not seen the trailer for this. So if you're out there in internet land, don't show me anything, because I just am trying to ignore. Every time I see something Star Wars, I'm like, nope. Which is very hard. Like, it's almost everywhere, right? So it's crazy. Just like on every other show that we have, there is a live chat for people to come and talk to us as well. So if you decide you like us a lot and you would like to come chat with us, every Sunday night at 8 o'clock, we are here on the internet. talking with some awesome people. So if you like, you guys can actually come and join us and chat with us as well. So that is awesome. I want to take a moment, and we're gonna hear a little bit from our sponsors here. Sadly, Chelsea was supposed to come and join us, so I'm gonna have to do this whole ad spot by myself, which has actually never been done. So we will see how this goes. So we're gonna take a quick little break, and we will we'll come back and talk to these lovely guests that we have today. All right, sounds good. All right. All right, so ATB is one of our is like a proud sponsor of so many events that happen in and around the city of Edmonton, including like the Edmonton Expo, the Fringe Festival, Animathon. I mean, I can just continue to name off so many things that the ATB is a part of. They're not just a bank. They are more than just that. They are also a sponsor of this podcast network that we are currently in at the moment, the Northern Nerdcast. And it's amazing to see the amount of stuff that ATB does just here in our own backyard. And they're huge sponsors of a lot of the major projects that are happening in and around this beautiful province of ours. And if you'd like to know, then I mean, this is all just part of this amazing initiative called ATB Listens. And if you'd like to know more about ATB Listens, you guys can go on to atb.com/listens to find out more. And it's so easy. All right. So go to ATB Listens, atb.com/listens to find out more. All right. So I almost didn't quite mess that up too badly. All right. So today we have the sort of I don't know even what to call you guys. People from the Super Drycleaners, which is is it a web series? Is that what you guys have, or is it like an actual thing?
It's a digital series.
Digital series,
web as well as the video on demand through TELUS.
Awesome.
It's a real TV show.
It's a real TV show. Awesome. So I'm gonna just start off by asking sort of how this all just came about. So Brandon, like, how did this happen?
Well, basically, Barb might have her own version of the story, but my version of the story is I was working on some other projects with Barb. She's kind of more like a producer-director. I'm more of a writer. And I was writing some things for her, and she kind of, I remember it being more just like an off-the-cuff type of thing where she just mentioned this idea she had about kind of two teenagers who work in a dry cleaner, and it caters to superheroes, and the kids dress up in the costumes. And just from my comic book background, it just immediately hit me as like the best idea ever. And so we started talking about it. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, we should actually write this. We had no money involved, no idea really what to do with it. But we planned out the episodes. We wrote some outlines, and then I wrote 6 episodes of it. And basically, what happened is there was a contest here in Edmonton called it was called TELUS Optic at the time, where you could submit basically your pitch, and they would pick a winner and fund them with enough money to make the show. So Barb submitted it, and then in my mind, I was busy with other stuff, totally forgot about it until one day I get a call that we won, and they want to give us money to actually make the show. So this idea that I was expecting to go nowhere, and I basically wrote for fun, all of a sudden became very real, and we had to make it happen.
That's awesome. So, Skylar, how did you end up becoming a part of this whole like mess of people?
I actually saw the casting on like a Facebook group site, and my mom was like, "Oh, like there's this kind of thing. Do you want to try out for it?" And I originally auditioned for Tracy and Pirouette, and I was a little nervous because I'm not a dancer, and Pirouette is a villain, and obviously she's a ballet dancer. And I was like, I don't know how this is gonna work, but we'll try it out. And I I sent in a self-tape and got, I think, an email back, like I think in 2 weeks, and asking me to come down and read for Tracy. And went in and went well, and was asked to read for Skylight, to take about a half hour and go upstairs and kind of remember these lines. Did it, and Adam, who plays Kyle, was there as well. He came in about like an hour later, and we read together, and that's kind of how it all happened. So
That's awesome. So can you, oh my goodness, can you guys sort of go over the premise of like what Super Dry Cleaners is?
Barb?
Sure, yeah. Basically it's a show about, like as Brandon said a moment ago, two twin siblings, Kyle and Sky, who work in their grandmother's dry cleaner, and it's the dry cleaner to superheroes in this world. Superheroes are common and everywhere. And they kind of have some aspirations to be superheroes of their own, so they start taking the costumes out at night and pretending to be superheroes and crime fighters and have illusions of grandeur. And then during this as well, they're going to school. They're high school kids, and they have some dramas of their own going on at school. And as things start to progress, they start to see, well, maybe we can use these powers or these things to kind of to their advantage, because they end up eventually to get taught a lesson. One of the actual superheroes catches them wearing these costumes as they're trying to capture a villain, and bestows real powers on them, the ability to absorb the power of whatever costume they're wearing. But it takes them some time to figure out what the power is, because it was meant to be kind of, they thought it would teach them a lesson, because with great power comes great responsibility kind of thing. But it's kind of, they're like, yeah, do you realize what's going on? We've got power and we can wear whatever we want and do whatever we want. So that's where it's leading. So far we've got the first 3 episodes, and it's kind of got to that point where they realize that they have this power and that it's the costumes that are causing it. So now they're going to start picking and choosing through these costumes and going out and doing what they want to do. So
that's kind of what makes like the series so limitless, is that now every time they put on a different costume, they get that superhero's powers. So basically it's limitless of what we can do with it. And there's so many like scenarios they can be put in. There's so many like cool / ridiculous costumes they can be in. Like there's just so much fun basically that can be had with the series.
So let me ask Skylar here, if you could have a certain superpower, what would it be then?
The number one I always go to is the ability to teleport myself into like another place in the world, because my mom and I loved the movie Jumper a few years ago, and ever since then we were both like, yes, like imagine waking up in Paris for like the morning, and then going to Italy in the afternoon, and then back home to Edmonton, like the next day, like just so easy, and never having to pay for like an airplane tickets. I mean, like that's literally what you're spending the most money on. So that's my power. But it seems very selfish. But I mean, you gotta go for it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're gonna go, for me, I think just any kind of travel superpower is the best. Like super speed, flying, something where I can get from point A to point B faster than me driving is better.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Teleportation, that's a good one, because I mean, essentially you just have to think about being there and you're there.
Well, especially like as an actor, a lot of the times, like film shoots can vary from like 9 a.m., 6 a.m., 3 p.m., or you come on set at 9 p.m. So imagine like if we film till 3 in the morning, and you're say, oh hey, you gotta come back at 9. Just say, all right, I'll teleport myself to Tim Hortons and then to set, and it'll be great. So instead of just the half dead drive all the way over there, and it's all right, wake up, you gotta be ready.
Exactly. So when you guys were building this show, what was the premise like going into this? You guys were building this, it's not obviously for adults, it's for kids, right? Like, so when you were trying to build the show, how did that all come about?
Yeah, it was because you remember, when this all came about, there was no serious intention of making it at the time. It was more just fun. So I don't think at that time we really were aiming it at 9 to 12. I think it was more teens, or it was just kind of more open. And I think earlier drafts were a bit edgier or darker, because I remember I had a whole list of things from Barb that I had to take out. And the list kind of grew a bit, just because I'm used to writing horror and kind of more harder edge type of stuff. But basically, what the fun of it for me was I could just come up with an insane amount of characters to have, which is kind of always my dream. Like, I have this list of several thousand just character ideas and names. So when something like this comes along, I just go through the list and something pops out. Komodo dragon, well, that looks cool. And that's where all those kind of names come from. And just being able to basically have fun with the series, because it is story driven, but a lot of it, it doesn't take itself seriously. Obviously, it's way more of a fun side to it. So we can do so many ridiculous things with the series. And yeah, I kind of went off topic, I think, a bit there, but
yeah, it's all right.
That's what I have to say.
Yeah, for me, my point, as we started to move in the production side of things, started more to focus a little bit on seeing where this might go, and so that's sending notes, that's the audience. We did some, some of the boring side of things. You look at who might be interested in this. We did some market research kind of stuff, talked to a bunch of kids, trying to find who might this audience, who might enjoy this kind of show. For me, I have kids in this age range, so creating content for them is always kind of, something that's fun to say, hey, here's a show that you can like, and they provided, they're very opinionated, and so they provided some feedback. And then as we went along, just wanting to, some things that I wanted to make sure was trying to cast youth actually in the roles. In a lot of shows you see shows for kids, they cast 20-year-olds. And part of that, from a production point of view or producing point of view, it's just easier to deal with adults than it is to kids or youth, and there's a lot more things you can work around that you can't do with a younger audience or younger actors. But in this, we wanted to make sure that the cast was actually that age that they were portraying. There's a couple that are slightly older. But I mean, there's a line in the. You were 19, yeah.
Yeah.
But she's playing a 16-year-old.
I look like I'm 12. So
yes, and there's actually a line in the story where, and they kind of came up with it themselves. They were leading up to a scene in the, I think it was the first episode. They're leading up to, and the way the scene was supposed to start was they were just supposed to start in the middle of a conversation, basically. But Adam and Skylar needed some building up to that to get to that point. So they started doing this dialogue, and we taped it, and it was just completely off the cuff. And Adam said something under his breath, at least I don't look like I'm 12 years old. And it's yeah, so she does the younger audience look. So, but it was important for us that we had youth in there, portraying youth rather than, and portraying them kind of as what they might look like. So they're a realistic kind of, and then just having fun with it and giving opportunities to the kids and, or young adults and stuff. So
there's not a lot of there's some kid roles, but not a lot of teenage roles in Alberta. So to see an actual TV series that is trying to be made for teens, I was oh, now's my chance. I finally my 12-year-old looks. Let's do it. And it worked out. So, but it's it was very fun. And back to the 12-year-old comments. A big thing between me and Adam was it was literally instantly brother and sister in real life. So that kind of the fighting and the side comments we made to each other. So I think it worked out great.
That's good. So can you talk a little bit about the chemistry you guys do have? I mean, you guys seem to work really well together, right?
Oh, we hate each other.
Who us? We were on screen.
I mean, her and her co-star.
Yeah, her and her co-star.
Yeah, we just got along instantly. I guess both very shy because we're kind of I'm not this is. I think that was his first film acting because he
does mostly theater.
Adam is mostly a theater actor. So for us to kind of get a taste or feel of what was going on and the times we did meet, and I followed him on Instagram and Facebook, and we started talking a lot more and just built like more of a brother-sister bond while filming. So a lot of like inside jokes, and I guess it just instantly, like the minute we met, it just kind of clicked, and it was just very easy. It just felt like an instant chemistry, I guess.
That's awesome. How many I just want to go back to sort of like seeing some of the experiences you guys have had just making shows and things like that, and sort of what it takes. Like, what do you have to say about people who are trying to do this stuff like this? What kind of advice would you give people like that?
Well, I always tell people it's kind of a if I can do it, you can do it type of thing, and I always try to be really encouraging to people, because there was a point, even just 3 years ago, where I didn't have any of this. I was just someone who wanted to do this kind of thing. I'd done a little bit of writing, but nothing major, and basically just through sheer work and putting myself out there, I've put out an incredible amount of stuff in a few years, and it's kind of like making the right connections too. Like, you don't even need to know, big Hollywood people. It's just I met Barb on another project that ended up falling through and never got made. But through that, I met her. So when she needed someone to write something, she contacted me, and just from that led to this project existing. So basically, just from that chance encounter, this whole series exists. All these people were employed, and that just came from just being personable, doing your work, meeting deadlines, and basically being good at your craft. So anyone out there that wants to be like a writer or get these kind of things going, all it comes is having an idea, writing that idea into a script, and then just looking for some way to get it made. With us, it was Telesoptic, that contest. But I mean, there's grants, there's, having someone else give you the money to do it, having everyone volunteer. I mean, there's so many ways you could kind of just jumpstart your career. And if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, from a producing, directing point of view, I think it's as well a lot just go and do it, and just meeting people, I guess, and being kind to people, I think, is a big thing. Like, you never know when somebody, not in a selfish way, but you never know when somebody can help you out, or you can help somebody, and sometimes giving of your time and putting in that extra effort for other people's projects may in turn come and be able to help something for you, or it might lead into, as Brandon said, into a project that you never expected to happen. And I think just going out and doing it, and also just researching and learning as much as you can. There's a lot of great podcasts, so there's a lot of great web series and stuff out there where you can learn about the technical side of filmmaking, about the directing. Edmonton has some great organizations like FABA that you can go and take courses. I'm from Calgary, so there's some organizations there as well, and all over Alberta. And there's just a great network of people here that are really good, really willing to support each other. And I mean, I've been really impressed with the Edmonton community and how they pull together and really supporting each other. And so it's just volunteer on a set, ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask questions, and ask what you to do things or help out or whatever it is. And the worst somebody's going to say is no, and that's it. That's the worst that can happen. But the best that can happen is you learn something, you make something, you finish something, you move ahead. So, yeah.
How about you, Skylar?
I actually started with singing, but I kind of always, like, when I was younger, knew I wanted to get into this kind of field of acting and singing. Just never really thought it was possible. But my mom, like, found, surprisingly, I guess, like, my way of saying to get into the acting community here in Edmonton would be to join Edmonton Facebook groups that have film, and like Alberta Film and auditions. I'm not quite sure all the names, but if you type it in, it'll come up. But also Kijiji, which be very careful on Kijiji. But yes. Like, that was like the first part that I got was from the Kijiji ad. And I guess my recommendation as well is to go with, especially if you're underage, of course, go with your parent or your friend, or even if you are of age, still go with a friend at first until you kind of, get comfortable and you start meeting more people that, you can work with and you trust. And I guess combined with like both of what they said is kind of how you join in the industry, and just give yourself to show that I'm here to help, and people will take a chance on you. So
It's awesome. So, is there any other projects that you may be working on there, Brandon? Sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of gotten to the point. There's so many of them, I can't even really discuss it. Like, we got my first feature-length movie script that I sold. I just finished shooting a couple months ago, called John 3:16, and I wrote another one. It's called Core Values, and it just got greenlit about 2 days ago, and it starts shooting October 30th. So that's probably the biggest news I got going on right now. I got a bunch of other ones that are in the works. My comic book Chainsaw Reindeer, which has been killing me because it's been done for like 9 months now, but we got picked up by Rats and Crows Publishing. That was the first time one of our Higher Universe comics got picked up by a bigger publisher, and they're releasing it pretty sure sometime in November. So it's the first time it's going to be available worldwide because they have a way bigger reach than us. And then Insane Comics, who are a rapidly rising indie comic company, they picked up Ghoul Squad and Misfits. So they're going to be, basically all over the world come March. And my first book, my children's book called You're the Reason Mommy Drinks, it got picked up by a publisher in the UK, and it's going to be in bookstores sometime in the spring. So yeah, I got a lot of exciting things coming on, and Barb and I have a couple other projects that are in the works. Skylar and I have a couple other projects in the works. So this next, if we do a podcast again a year from now, it's going to be like a very different conversation because we're gonna have so many cool things going on.
Yeah, I keep thinking he's going to be too big for us sometime soon.
Oh, please, no.
He's not going to want to actually come back to the show anymore. He's going to go to big network TVs. So I'm just going to go back a little bit more to Super Drycleaners. Is there something that you'd like to see happen within the show that you may not be able to do at the moment, or you want to see coming forward as you guys continue on?
Well, there's so much I want to see happen. Like I think about it differently, just like as the writer. And I remember it's funny because even when I was writing the scripts, I was always thinking, or like especially when it got to the point where this is real, where I'd be like, are we able to do this? So I would message Barb and say, like, can we lift a truck? And she's like, just wear your writer hat. Don't worry about, like, we'll worry about how to make this happen. But like ideally, if we get bigger budgets, there's so many cool things we could do. Like I just keep, every time I think of a new superhero or a villain, I just think like, how would this work with Super Drycleaners? Or it's just, if you had superpowers, what are the things you could just get into trouble with? Or there's so many just those different avenues to explore. So my head kind of just wants to explode with all the possibilities. And even before the show, we were talking about how, we're getting the potential to possibly be able to do more of them. So I have to start writing new episodes, which is one part like, oh, pressure's on me, but it's also one part, oh man, I get to write more of the show.
That's awesome. So the one thing I did, like, because I've watched the episodes, the one thing I noticed that I kind of really like is the fact that you guys kind of blend in the live action, and then you guys got these like sort of comic book panels that you guys throw in between as well. Who's like, where did that come from?
That was kind of a budget related thing that so we were trying to come up with not a budget. It was, a creative decision, but we were kind of looking at ways when we were going through the script, and then you translate, well, what's written on a script into what it might look like on screen when you have a limited budget. And so we didn't have a huge visual effects budget, and we didn't have a big stunts budget, and we wanted people to be able to fly, but rigging was very expensive. And then I also wanted to be able to blend to bring that kind of comic book world, because it was, a lot of the characters are comic type characters. And so we kind of said, well, I don't know which one of us came up with it, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure you did.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
All right. And so I said, well, what if we drew them instead? And so every time but then we were concerned, we didn't want to make it seem like we're cheaping out on every scene where there's something we can't do. So we added, making the transitions between each, when they go from location to location, being a comic panel, and then just for some of the action scenes that some of those types of scenes to be able to show a little more, and just to create that feel where it feels like you're in a comic book world where it's kind of a blend between, you know, reality and comics and stuff at the same time. And that's one of the things that I'd like to work more on if we could do more is to incorporate those a lot bigger and to do more like the DC motion comic type things. They have like all those ones that to do it in a much grander way and a much more to spend a little more time in that kind of comic drawing kind of world and really bump those up a bit. And then I think that would be great.
Oh yeah.
To do that.
And that's one of those things that I actually did kind of enjoy, like when I was watching it, seeing those comic book panels, because obviously you can only go so far in what you can do. You guys are capable of doing, but it did really help out seeing. Oh, this is a good way of visualizing what's happening, and it really made you feel like like you said, it's blending that comic book world with reality.
Yeah.
Which was pretty fantastic. So I'm not sure. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to add before we continue on here?
I don't know. Maybe we could just talk about like our favorite character in the show that's not us. Because I like all the characters because they're kind of all my children in a way. But like I really liked how Pirouette turned out, because originally I had a different, her name was Ballet or so. I had a different, like more generic name for that character, and Barb came up with the idea for Pirouette. But I think that's where we're starting to edge onto the more ridiculous type of characters. And it was so cool because it's one part fight but one part dance. And I like it with this show that it's not just kind of like fist fights for each one, that we can really play with just like the ridiculousness of these characters, because it's definitely a comedy. So yeah, I like that character a lot too. Komodo Dragon's another one that in my mind I didn't know how she was going to look, because usually I can picture the character in my head, and I knew she had like a lizard type angle to her, but I wasn't sure what they would do. So basically it wasn't until the episode was pretty much finished where I finally got to see this is what they did with it. And Morgan Yamada, who plays Komodo Dragon, did an awesome job, and the scene was hilarious.
That's pretty good. The what's it called? Some of the characters are just absolutely great. Because you like I think it was like some sort of matador kind of guy at the was the school assembly or something like that.
Oh yeah.
What's his name again?
Hooded Champion.
Hooded Champion.
Oh yeah.
It just, I'm like, this world you guys are starting to create is pretty fantastic. Can you just for a moment talk a little bit about Sky's perspective on superheroes? Because it's a very interesting perspective.
Like me?
No, Sky the character or Sky
the character? Yeah.
She wants somebody who is for the good cause, not just for, the popularity and the, stardom, that kind of thing. She wants somebody who genuinely wants to help people and the world. And I think that is a true show of her character, because she does come off as very aggressive at points and very intimidating, but she truly does have a good heart. And I think she's very picky on who she idolizes. And a lot of, the superheroes that Kyle picks is kind of like, oh, brother. Like, you just want to be like them because, oh, they're tough and mighty, or they have like this God complex to them. When she picks superheroes who, are, I think, strong women and very powerful women, I think she wants to become a very strong woman as well.
That's awesome. All right, so we're going to take another quick little break. Once again, I apologize for anyone who's listening that I'm doing this all by myself, and I don't have a single player version of this. So we'll see how this turns out. Shall we?
Yeah.
All right, so this month we have the Edmonton Community Foundation as one of our sponsors. The ECF, or the Edmonton Community Foundation, essentially acts as a bridge between donors and charities to help create a strong and vibrant community within the Edmonton area. Not only that, does the EDC also produce a podcast called the Well Endowed Podcast. The show's main focus is help potential donors set up endowment funds to support good works in our community. And October's podcast features George Takei. Yes. Now they also have an event that's coming up here in the next little while as well, that has George Takei, who's being featured in it as well. You guys can go and check out their website, ecffoundation.org, for more information on the foundation itself. Or if you'd like to check out the Well Endowed Podcast, go check out the wellendowedpodcast.com, and you can find them on Apple Podcasts or Google Play. And that is the Edmonton Community Foundation. Go check them out. All right. So, like as always on the show, we like to talk a lot about the various events that are coming up in the city of Edmonton, and try to point people towards the many amazing things that people can do in Edmonton. And the first thing I'd like to point people towards is an event called Dead Fest, which is happening this week. And this is at oh man, where I had it.
Is it on Thursday?
It is on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm going.
Are you?
Yeah.
So Dead Fest is. I'm trying to find out which theater it's at. It's a whole bunch of various movies. I think it's at the Garno. It's at the Metro Cinema. So if you go to our website, we have all the information there. Apparently, I don't have the information in front of me. But go check out Dead Fest X, the final chapter, and it's basically playing all week at the Garno. And we're gonna move on to October 18th, where we have Learn to Play D&D, and this is happening at the new Pond and Pint on the West End, which is one of the new tabletop cafes that have opened up in the last little while. So go check that out. I don't know if you guys have you ever played D&D?
I have not.
I have not.
No, I've played it once. I've played other RPGs, but for some reason I've never really got into playing D&D. But if you want to learn, you can go to Pond and Pint on October 18th. Moving along, we have October 19th. We have Dark Matter. Have you ever heard of Dark Matter before? Yeah. This is happening at the TELUS World of Science, where it's basically an adult night at the Edmonton. They kind of open it up after hours. They have drinks and all sorts of stuff going on there. It's a great time. And this week, or this month, sorry, theme is fears and phobias. This is sort of just going along with the whole Halloween kind of feel. Are you guys all prepped for Halloween?
No.
I love Halloween. It's probably tied with Christmas for my favorite holiday. I don't dress up. I kind of grew out of that a long time ago. But I love the movies. I love I love the atmosphere. Basically, I love everything about it except the costumes.
Yeah. So I checked out your Twitter there, Skylar, and you had this armor thing that you would worn to the Edmonton Expo. Did you make all that yourself?
I wish I could. I wish I was that talented. But I actually, a local film company here in Edmonton called Alpacalypse Productions made that, and it's actually supposed to be Elsa's armor from Frozen. And we did a fighting short 2 years ago, and it's just coming up to being finished, called Elsa versus Zuko from The Last Airbender. So kind of fire and ice, and we went out like down there to kind of promote it for a little bit. But yeah, it was really cool and exciting to be able to be a part of that, because I'm not talented in making my own, armor or my costumes, and I wish I was, because the talent there is incredible.
That's awesome. So are you going to be dressing up at all for this Halloween?
I don't know what I'm doing yet. I think if anything, it would be more of a kind of a makeup test for me this year. I like playing around with makeup and seeing a lot of effect stuff, and so kind of playing around with that. Maybe go to a party after, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Not sure yet. All right, so we'll move along here. October 26th, we have a Pixar adult night at the Edmonton Telus World of Science. This one's interesting to me because they don't typically open up the special exhibits for this kind of stuff. So having a strictly adult night at the Telus World of Science is awesome, but having it for their special kind of thing at the back there. Have you guys heard or seen the Pixar exhibit yet?
No.
I heard it was really good, and I've kind of wanted to go, but this may actually make me want to go to go check that out. And that's happening again on October 26th. Moving along, we have another Edmonton community meetup for the Twitch community, which is happening over at High Score. This is not High Score. This is the High Score pop-up that they do. And this is happening at... Oh, man, why do I forget the name of the place that it's at? Man, I wish I had better... I need a better producer. No, I can't say that. That's my wife. She's an awesome producer. She's fantastic. Dirtbag Cafe. It was my fault. I can't blame her for that. Dirtbag Cafe. Yes. And every weekend now they have an official place that you guys can go to if you guys are into esports at all. Go check out High Score at the Dirtbag Cafe every Saturday, Sunday. And that is happening. And then we're moving on to November 4th. Now, you said, Skylar, you're a video gamer, correct? Right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, Game Day 2017 for Edmonton's largest 24-hour gaming marathon for Edmonton Extra Life is happening. This is all in for charity for oh my goodness. I'm having a really bad off day. The Children's Hospital. Why can't I? I'm just losing it tonight. I'm very sick, by the way. I'm going to point that out. The Stollery. My goodness, this is terrible. The Edmonton Stollery. So all the fundraisers, all the funds are going towards the Edmonton Stollery. There's still, I think, a few more seats, and I think at the moment they're going to be opening up a new bank of tables for people to come and join us. And it's going to be an amazing time. I'm going to be there. I got my co-host. He's going to, a friend of mine in the city here. He's going to be joining us, and we're going to have an awesome game, 24 hours worth of gaming prepped, and we're going to be streaming it all for everybody out there. So it's going to be a ton of fun. Is there any suggestions on what I should be playing, Skylar? Tell me a game.
Borderlands is like Dragon Age was my first favorite game.
Yep.
Like, first one, but Borderlands, like the second one, will always be like my all-time favorite game. Except also, I just got into because my uncle got me into gaming when I was really young, and my first computer, and I would sneak downstairs and use his because my mom was like, "What are you doing? Like, go outside!" But I started playing. I don't know if you know the game Disciples.
I don't think I have.
It's more of a strategy and turn-based game, but I just recently got into that again, and kind of like one of my favorite games. So that would be, and that one you can play for like hours and hours and hours and hours. So It's kind of my game that I play when I don't want to do other work as well.
I've gotten really into playing Destiny 2 the last little while, and so I may be playing that a little bit more when the 24-hour gaming marathon comes up. But for the most part, what I'm going to try to do is play games like Rocket League, some nice couch co-op kind of games. That's what I'm looking for, just because I'm going to have another person with me. And it's not something I typically will be playing, is a lot of those kind of games. So it should be an interesting night. I like to play games by myself because I'm very antisocial.
Well, for me, it's like, because my computer is just like slowly dying. So I have, like I said, my collection of just games that keeps growing every like Steam sale. And like that's where like all my money's going, which shouldn't be, but just so many games that I want to play, and I'm excited. Hopefully around Christmas I can start.
Yeah. So, like I said, November 4th is the game day for Edmonton's largest marathon, 24 hours. 24 hours of awesome gaming marathon. I want to thank you guys so much for coming and joining us tonight. I do apologize. We had some issues at the beginning of the show, but we've made it. We've survived a co-hostless episode, and you guys are such a fantastic group. I want to thank you guys so much. You guys are absolutely fantastic.
Thank you for having us.
For sure. And you guys are always welcome back. Anytime you guys got something else awesome coming up, let us know. We'll have you for sure on the show.
Maybe, just like one quick announcement.
Yeah, go for it.
This hasn't been made public yet, so we're going to be announcing it soon. But myself and Skylar and a few other film people in Edmonton, we're putting on an event at the Garneau Theatre on Saturday, November 18th at 4 p.m. We're calling it the Edmonton Indie Filmmakers Night. And we're going to be showing a few kind of horror shorts made in Edmonton. And Skylar is going to be performing a couple of her songs. And it's going to be kind of like a meet and greet night for people in the Edmonton industry and people that are aspiring to be in the Edmonton industry. So come out and meet us and have a good time.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely go and check that out, because that's going to be good. So, and you say that's Thursday?
No, that is November 18th.
November 18th. Sorry. Well, that was terrible. All right. So, yes, November 18th. I'm going to put that in the calendar.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me once again. And I want to say thank you for everybody out there who's watching and or listening to this edition of the Nerdcast. The Northern Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB, and is produced by myself, along with Chelsea Thompson and Trina Schessel. You can also find more information on the Northern Nerd Network by checking us out on Twitter at Northern_nerd, at Facebook.com/Facebook/Northern Nerd, on YouTube.com/Northern Nerd Network, or you can find us on our own website, NorthernNerdNetwork.com. All right, so I want to thank everyone once again for joining us, and I'll see you guys on the next one.